So the new movie I saw this week was Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. Jack Ryan is a character created by Tom Clancy, and he does appear in many of his books. At least that's what I hear more. I'm not that big of a Tom Clancy fan. I've read a couple of his books, and I've seen a few of his movies. But, I mean, one of the biggest ones, of course, is Hunt for Red October. But I'm just not a big fan of Tom Clancy. I mean, he's a good writer, I'll admit that, but he's just not my kind of writer. So this is somewhat of a reboot of the characters, speaking that his franchise has been kind of, gone for a while, like dormant, if you will. And this was more of a reboot, trying to get the character back out there. I guess they really wanted to, bring him back because, the Jack Ryan, it's Tom Clancy, and he's got a ton of books. He's got a ton of books, and I guess a ton of them does have Jack Ryan in it. So I guess it would work, bringing him back. But is this a good reboot for the start of a new franchise, or is this one just going to fade into the shadows? Well, given that on the opening weekend that it fell fourth in the box office openings, and the number one was Ride Along, I have to say I don't think this franchise is going to get off the ground. So, what is it about? Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit stars Chris Pine as Jack Ryder. I guess it's him trying to get out of his Star Trek way, don't want to end up like William Shatner or something. As a young man who one day joined the Marines after 9/11. That's how they really use it. That's how they really start this movie. It's funny. It begins with him waking up at this London Economics Institute, and then it's September 11, 2001, and he wakes up and like people are talking like, hey, you hear all this news about this? And he goes to see that it's 9/11, and a few years later they show him in this helicopter is Lieutenant of the Marines, and I'm like, really, a guy whose PhD he's working on is for economics decides after 9/11 to join the Marines? I mean, I'll give him that for patriotism, but I just feel like 9/11 it was too much good of a what's the word I'm looking for here? It's too much of a plot device, if you will. Just like it's an easy to use plot device. Use 9/11, you can basically make the main character do anything. Hey, I just think it's cheap to use 9/11 to move the character, to get the character to do that. Like, he's an economics student, he sees 9/11, all of a sudden he wants to join the Marines. I just think it's a little cheap. Maybe they could have done something better with that. I mean, literally, it all happened in the first 3 minutes. It's like he wakes up, walks for a good minute, then gets to a TV, sees the two towers burning, and then it's like next thing you know, he's a Marine. I think it's just too much of a cheap way to use as a plot device. So while he's up in that helicopter, he gets shot down, and he gets shot down, and he gets taken to this hospital where he would find out that he broke his back on the impact. And these other two nameless grunts who were in him with the helicopter, he was able to drag them to safety before the helicopter, and they're safe. They're unharmed, but he's the one who's hurt. And I'm just like, really? He, with a broken back, dragged two full-grown men out of a burning helicopter while he could not walk. I mean, that's pretty amazing. I mean, they don't show it, it's all tell, and I'm not surprised either. I mean, think about it. It's much easier to tell that than to show it, because really, how do you explain that? How would you show that? It wouldn't make sense. Again, it's another cheap way of getting over it's better to just say he did that. I mean, they could have also said he lifted it off them with one hand while simultaneously stitching another guy's wound, while at the other time using his teeth to dial in for backup or something. Again, it's just kind of stupid. Like, if you're gonna do something like that, show it or something. So he ends up at Walter Reed, the Army hospital, and he gets the obvious love interest, Kathy Miller, and they fall in love, and he eventually meets Tom Harper, played by Kevin Costner, who wasn't bad in this movie. I mean, I've seen him better, but it's Kevin Costner. His acting is kind of a crapshoot. He can either a be good or very wooden. Take your pick. So he comes up to Jack and he says to him, hey, hey, I liked your stuff. I liked your stuff about, I saw you were trying for your PhD in economics. You're a person who sees all these other things. Like at one point, he was talking about these traffic reports, and he called the CEO 3 times about it. I don't know really what it was about. I mean, it was like a brief mention of it. And so then he tells, he's like, I just wanted to shake your hand and tell you I love your work. And as he walked out, he was like, wait a minute, who are you? Who are you with? And Kevin Costner turns and goes, I'm with the CIA. I'm like, really? Is that supposed to be one of those awe moments for like audiences, like for them to go, he's with the CIA or something like that? I don't know. It made me laugh more than anything. So he eventually recruits Jack and says, "We want you to be our inside guy. We'll give you a cover job, but what we want you to really do is look through accounts, look for terrorist accounts, and a Wall Street job." He's like, okay, and he accepts it. So we cut to a few more years later, and he's like, this big guy on Wall Street. It's what he does. It's his. He's an analyst. He analyzes stuff all day, an analyst and an audit. But one day he finds these bank accounts which can't be traced. He doesn't know what they are, and there's this ton of money just moving all around us, and it's all coming from Moscow. So he goes to his boss and says, "Yeah, I need to go to Moscow. You see all these accounts. I mean, it's like millions of dollars being transferred all over the place, and we have no way of tracing it. I think we got a problem here." So, his agency sends him to Moscow. And, his girlfriend's already kind of suspicious of him because she thinks he's having an affair because he was he did one of those secret agent things. He went to one of those old black and white movies, to hand off an envelope, and she found his ticket stub, and so she thinks she's having an affair with somebody, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I mean, you'll find a lot of cliches in this movie. This movie. It gets a little ridiculous. So, he goes to Moscow. He gets picked up by a private security guard who, 5 minutes later, tries to kill him. And here's the part where the movie really starts to change for me. It really starts to show that this is really just a Hollywood action flick because it feels like it's borrowing from other movies. This whole scene in this hotel room, I don't know why, but I get a Jason Bourne feeling from it. I don't know why I'm getting it. I'm just getting it. And there's a lot of other points in here, you'll see, there just feels like they're tacked on scenes. So he finds out. So after he does a little more digging in between now and then, and after the assassination, he goes off to meet his contact in Russia, which he finds out again is Thomas Harper, played by Kevin Costner, and he finds out that this guy named Victor, and I forget his last name, and I don't want to try to pronounce it. And this guy named Victor, the bad guy, is played by Kenneth Barham, who's also directing this movie. He both acts and directs in this movie, and as usual, I like his acting and I like his directorial. He's pretty good in this. His plan is to collapse the world economy. The whole plan here is he'll collapse the dollar and to send America to the next Great Depression. And while Russia will be hit hard, China will be hit hard more because we buy everything from them. They're one of our major things. Because we fall, they're going to fall just as hard. And so it's a race to find out how he's going to do this. How he's going to stop. And how they're going to stop it. And it just really, from this point on, the movie kind of starts snowballing into stupidity and clichéness. And I would love to talk about it more, but I don't want to ruin the movie for people. So honestly, what? I'll just say it right here. If you want to go see the movie, I'll say it right now. Beyond this point will be spoilers. But what I'll say right here before I start that is just this. Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit is not a bad movie. It's not a horrible movie. But I wouldn't say go see it. I wouldn't say go see it in IMAX like I did. I'd say go see it in a regular theater, you know, or wait till you get home and or like wait till it comes out on DVD or you know is rentable online or something. One of those two. So again, from this point on, spoilers. So what happens is his wife shows up because she thinks he's having an affair. So finally he tells her, "Yeah, I'm in the CIA." And she's like, "Oh, thank God you're in the CIA." Wait, you're in the CIA? It's like she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're having that affair, but you're a secret agent now. Great." And so, and that's just one of the more dour plots of the movie. But before that, I'm sorry, I skipped over a part. My apologies. Before that, he goes to the building to meet up with the main guy, with the main bad guy. He's like, "Hi, can I see audits?" So it's like, "Oh, there's no problem here. You don't need to do an audit here. What's this? It's a file. I sold off all the companies and whatnot, and da 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 da, and did all this other, you know, mumbo jumbo stuff that, you know, you don't have to do an audit anymore. We basically took care of your job, covering it up so he couldn't do an audit and find out what all the problems were. So instead, they have to sneak into his office and like, you know, find all the hidden stuff on the servers and whatnot. And again, from there begins a lot of spy action stuff. So again, his wife shows up, and Victor invited him to dinner with his wife, and he found out that his wife, and Victor found out that his wife came in and was at his hotel. They had, I still don't understand how he found that out before anybody else. I guess he's got good connections. Anyway, so his wife is totally like, "Yeah, you know what? I'll go with you and distract him while you go in." And she's like, "No, you're not doing that." I'm like, "Yeah, she shouldn't. Don't you have like any other CIA operatives that like a female that could do this?" And they actually do have one. I'm just surprised they couldn't call up another one. I mean, would they have like a couple of other contacts? Like, couldn't they call up like another person and go like, "Hi, hey, we need a CIA operative, a woman that could play our boy's wife." Yeah, okay, thank you. I mean, you're sending a civilian in to do something that could literally lead to the Second Great Depression. Why? So they go in, and Jack does this very least convincing drunk scene I've ever seen. Like, it's really stupid. Like he's drinking water. I mean, he's drinking wine. He's like popping pain pills, and it's not so much he looks drunk. It just looks like it looks more comedic drunk. And I'm like, it's not really it's just weird. And so he goes, so all this spy stuff happens, you know, like, you know, walk by, pass offs, like, you know, walk by, quick as the light, you didn't even notice it, you know, sleight of the hand stuff, you know, slipping of wallets in and out of people's pockets. They get the information, and they find out even more that they found out everything. They figure out that it's going to happen literally the next day. And there's also a sleeper agent in America who's actually Victor's son. What was the guy's name? Hold on, I got it right here. I got a cast list. He's not even on the cast list. Oh, that's stupid. Oh, then again, that kid really didn't have much here. Yeah, he's not. Ronald Baker. His internal ministry. Nope, it's not here. Well, that's stupid. Well, anyways, they found out they got like this sleeper agent and sleeper agent in America who's going to start this, you know, and so after a tacked-on car chase scene where they find out, you know, this was the best part about the movie in my opinion, how it just gets dumber from here. After he gets the initial information and the building's kind of like, you know, compromised, and they get Jack out, Victor finds out that, you know, there's an alarm, but he was being distracted by the wife, so. And then Jack shows up, and then they like all walk out back to the building, and then Jack shows up to get her, and he's like sobered up now, and it's ridiculous how fast he did it. And they all head to a safe house, and he explains the whole thing that's going to happen tomorrow. And I love this. This is a CIA safe house, but it takes literally, but in 5 seconds later, it takes Victor's whole bad guy crew pounds in out of nowhere. They get in like there's no problem. Was nobody watching the fucking gate? I mean, it's a CIA safe house. It was literally. I mean, this was the equivalent of me walking into the most top level of security of the Pentagon, with no resistance whatsoever. It's like walking in a door, like just walking down a hallway to a door. Let's see. triple, double, quadruple, mega secret, probationary, crap ton secrets. Nobody beyond this point. No resistance. They bust in, steal his wife. There's a tacked on car chase scene with a lot of tension, and there's a lot of bad tension in this movie. It's really like a lot of false stuff. And this car chase scene really feels tacked on and pointless because it leads to much of nothing. I mean, it would have been much better if in the movie, instead of like, if he lost her in the car chase scene instead of catching her, then, because I mean, the whole scene's completely pointless. In about 10 minutes, he's already got her back. And I'm like, really? And what was the point of that? I mean, it would have been better if they got away and they were able to get her to America before the Americans got to America and like strap her in with a bomb or something. I mean, that would have been better in my opinion. It wouldn't have been any smarter, but it would have been better than just tacked on car chase scene just to probably pad out the film more or something. So, and they're on this jet flying back to America, and here's the best part. This is like they're trying to figure this out, this huge covert thing, and they're figuring it out like this every second. They have a question, it's figured out. They have another question, it's figured out. Like, okay, we need to find the sleeper agent. Okay, we found him. Okay, we need to find out what he's gonna do. Okay, we found out where he's going. Okay, how is he gonna do? Okay, we're gonna find out here. And it just keeps getting fixed so quickly. See, and it really shows that this movie kind of really doesn't have much of a way of trying to be, smart. It's just trying to be. It's just trying to get this go. It's just trying to tell the story without really trying to tell it. It's just kind of like blah 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 blah. That's the story. So they get there and they save the day and all that, and that's really basically the whole movie. I mean, the last third act has all the action scenes, and again, this movie really feels like it doesn't have an identity of its own. It feels like it's just a bunch of tacked on things from other movies. I mean, like there's a tacked on car chase scene from any action flick. There's the private security guard one, which again I felt like I got a Jason Bourne theory. There's the giant bomb in the car, which I really wish I remember where I was thinking I was getting that from. I know there's been plenty of bombs in cars and vans and whatnot stuff, and it just really I really don't think that this film is going to spawn a whole new franchise of Jack Ryan. If anything, I think this is going to be it. This reboot really isn't doing that well so far. I mean, it did get dumped in January, and that's kind of an odd time to dump movies in. It's usually a time for movies that they knew really wouldn't do well the last year, like in the last fourth quarter. Well, that's really all I have to say about it. Again, you really don't have to go see this movie. I'd say more or less rent it. I'd say more or less wait till you can rent it or something, but I wouldn't put money down for it. I hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you next week, because I think next time I'm going to go see I, Frankenstein. Should be good. See you then.